So in today's video, we're talking about the band Sword. They're from Canada. They play traditional heavy metal music, and the album is called 3. Album was released on November 25th, 2022, so obviously their third album in their discography, released on Massacre Records. So Sword is a heavy metal band. They came out in the 80s. They released two albums. They released Metallized in 1986 and Sweet Dreams in 1988. To be honest with you, I never really heard of this band before. I never really listened to them. I didn't know about them back in the 80s, so I'm kind of going into this as a newcomer. This band has been active, throughout the 80s up until like 1995, and then they took a long break and then got back together in 2011, and then they kind of started playing together. So this is actually their first album in 34 years. So the sound is somewhere between traditional metal and thrash. I would say similar bands would be like Anvil, Armored Saint, or Metal Church. And also the band hasn't really changed their lineup. We got Mike LaRock on bass, Dan Hughes on drums, Mike Plant on guitars, and Rick Hughes on vocals. This album is not very long. It's just 8 songs, 34 minutes. And it's, like I said, it's traditional heavy metal. It sounds like something that came out of the 80s. So basically on this album, you're going to get lots of heavy guitar riffs, distorted riffs, chugging, just like very like angry, aggressive riffs. The bass guitar is kind of like buried in the mix, so you don't really hear it that much, but you got like fast drum beats, which can be very aggressive at times. More like, traditional metal drumming. They keep the rhythm very good, so it's very good. The vocals reminded me a lot of Joey Belladonna. So I'm listening to these. A lot of these songs kind of sound like Anthrax. I thought that was pretty cool in like this heavy metal context. So the vocals are good. You get some like high pitched screams throughout some of the songs, and just lots of melody. But they're also like heavy and aggressive at times. And the lyrics are really easy to understand. As far as lyrics, different topics. So they have the songs about like politicians. Sometimes they're political. A lot of times they're just talking about like the heavy metal lifestyle. So 8 songs. I think my favorite song is Dirty Pig. This was one of the singles. It just has this like old school chugging guitar intro. Lots of these 80s metal riffs in the beginning. Not a fast song, kind of like mid-paced drums. It's a little maybe like slower, but the vocals are just angry and emotional, and just mixed with like melody and rage. You got these like traditional heavy metal solos, and the song is about like politicians who start wars. So it kind of has this like angry tone to it. So that was probably my favorite. Another one of my favorites is Spread the Pain. I like this because it has like this heavy drum beat in the intro, and then like the guitars kind of alternate with the drums. The guitars are more like this like fuller sound. You hear just more of like that distortion. And they also incorporate more melody into the songs. And another thing I like, they kind of do these like Iron Maiden style riffs in the middle of the song. So, when a band copies Maiden, I always like that. So as far as like the rest of the songs, I don't think there's anything bad on it. I mean, everything is just, sounds okay. It's traditional metal. So I'll talk about a couple of other songs that I liked. Bad Blood, just heavy distorted guitars. This is almost like thrash metal. It's almost like a faster song, typical metal guitars. The guitar solo uses the wah-wah effect, so that one's pretty cool. One of the singles, I'm in Command, traditional metal guitars, just fast drum beat, chugging guitars in the verse, and the lyrics about heavy metal lifestyle, living the life you want, and they do these like slower breakdowns, so there is kind of a little more energy in this one, and a lot more melody. At times they do things like sound like glam metal. So, for example, the song "Unleashing Hell." Another one. This is about like the heavy metal lifestyle again. So the lyrics are talking about like 1986 in Montreal, playing shows and doing coke. Just that metal lifestyle. I think this one reminded me a lot of the band Saxon as well. And the album ends with "Not Me No Way." It's just a fast, old-paced guitar riff in the intro, and kind of sounds like heavy glam metal. So my final thoughts: it's heavy metal. It's an old school 80s metal album. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're going to get. They're not, reinventing the wheel. They're not doing anything, out of the ordinary. It's just good old-fashioned heavy metal. The production is kind of raw. I think my issue is like the bass kind of seemed like buried in the mix. I couldn't really distinguish it in the songs. The vocals are maybe a little bit too high, but I don't think it really bothered me that much. I mean, the production in general is not really great, but it doesn't really take away from the listening experience. It just kind of has like more of that like old school kind of sound. I think if you like traditional '80s metal, I think you can get into this band. It's pretty good. The songs are catchy. It's a good listen. So in conclusion, I think my final score is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. They're not doing anything groundbreaking. They're just giving you good old-fashioned metal. It's heavy. It's just, enjoyable. It's not like an album that's going to be making any end of the year list, but I think it's good that I think like these guys are just like old friends and they wanted to release another album. And it's good that they're getting music out, so maybe they can kind of keep the momentum going, release something else maybe in a few years, and do more touring and just try to get more exposure. But that's all. That's all I'm going to say about this. And please check my community tab. I'm talking about some new things I'm doing for December, so I don't have to talk about it right now. So that's all. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.